Howdy y'all, I'm Isaac and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2024. I was not expecting I'd be making this review so soon. A few months back, Netflix announced that they'd be making a new Spongebob movie that'd be focused on sandy cheeks called Saving Bikini Bottom. Not much else was known about it other than the fact that it'd be coming out sometime in 2024. But then, right out of the blue, I discovered that the movie was leaked on Twitter. Obviously, I had no idea what to expect from it, other than it having SpongeBob and Sandy going to her home state of Texas, but after watching it, wow. My expectations were absolutely shattered, and by that, I mean that Saving Bikini Bottom is absolute f***ing garbage. How? How can a movie be this bad? How can literally everything about it be so unbelievably terrible that its mere existence boggles the mind? How is this even possible? Well, allow me to explain. To start, the movie's story is practically non-existent. It constantly jumps from plot point to plot point with no sense of direction, ideas are abandoned immediately after being presented, the humor is consistently weak, and a lot of what happens is bizarre even for SpongeBob standards. The main plotline sees Bikini Bottom being scooped up by a science company in Texas, one that Sandy apparently has ties to, and this company, owned by one Tsunami, wants to make clones of everyone in Bikini Bottom so that they could be sold as pets. Why? Because Sue wanted to cuddle with fish as a kid. You cannot make this shit up. And it also turns out that she's a robot with CGI so uncanny that it makes Ant-Man Quantumania look like Avatar. In fact, this movie's animation in general looks ugly. There's a lot of points where it feels too smooth and the character movements feel stiff as a result. It tries to reflect the spontaneous energy of the modern seasons, but it fails to do so due to how poorly timed the visual comedy is coupled with the janky character animation. That and the CGI effects are laughably terrible. I get this is a made-for-TV movie and probably had a low budget, but I mean, just look at this. This is the stuff nightmares are made of. And the bad animation is just one drop in the massive bucket of this movie's problems. Like I mentioned earlier, the biggest problem here is with how broken down the writing is. Let's start with Sandy's family. First off, why did they get Mr. Shark to voice her dad? He deserves better than this. Second, their inclusion is mostly as a plot device to get Sandy and SpongeBob out of a difficult situation and to drive them to Galveston where the science lab is. At one point, it seemed as if they'd be setting up a conflict where Sandy's parents would want her to stay in Texas, but it's quickly abandoned and never brought up again, so what was the point of including it in the first place? Not only that, but the humor here is just terrible. Of course, there's a lot of lol random stuff going on that just doesn't work, but some of the jokes are kinda concerning. There's one scene where SpongeBob sniffs a pile of cow manure, another where Sandy gets bit by a snake and becomes Bubbles from Angry Birds, and another where SpongeBob tickles kids' feet in a swimming pool. Like, are the writers of this movie okay? Do they need a visit from Chris Hansen or something? The characters aren't much better either, as it turns out. All of them are Flanderized to hell and back, with their main character trait being the only thing they have going for them. Sandy is smart, SpongeBob is happy, Patrick is stupid, Squidward is grumpy, Mr. Krabs is cheap, and the list goes on. And with the acting, I could tell that absolutely no one wanted to be doing this. Even Tom Kenny, as insanely talented as he is, even he sounded bored. And you want to hear the worst part? This movie is boring. It's only a little over 70 minutes long, but watching it felt like 70 years. 1 minute it feels like everything's happening way too fast, but then you realize you haven't even gotten 20 minutes through the movie yet. That's how f***ed the pacing is. I've heard rumors circulating that this movie was written with AI, and while I don't like using that comparison because it feels insulting to the work the writers did, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that was the case here. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. As much as I tend to exaggerate stuff, this is not an exaggeration. Everything about this movie is abysmal. The script feels like it was written by a homeless guy on speed, the humor is painful, the animation is hideous, the characters are one-dimensional, the acting is lazy, and the pacing is a disaster. So please, by any means necessary, do not watch this movie at all. It really is that bad. There is nothing to be gained from watching it. I never thought I'd have to do this again in a review like this, but honestly, I think Saving Bikini Bottom is bad enough to receive a 1 out of 10. You heard that right, a 1 out of 10. Maybe even lower. At this point, I'm just worn out from talking about this movie. I'm worn out from even thinking about this movie. But I hope you enjoyed watching me suffer for the sake of your entertainment. If you did, then consider subscribing for more videos like this, preferably where I talk about better movies. Thanks for watching this one in the meantime, and I'll see you all next time.